You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Every weeknight, it's Buzz After Dark.
You like that?
With Eric Steele.
Hang out with me Monday through Friday from 7 to midnight for the Buzz After Dark. It's kind of like the Titanic, except instead of 3 hours to sink, it takes 5 hours.
Freaks come out at night, that's for sure. The Buzz After Dark. After Dark.
All night long.
Awesome tunes, clothing optional.
Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Weeknight 7 to midnight on 102.9 The Buzz. Bill's Rock Station.
Hello, and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbit. This episode, we're going to continue our discussion of Black Widow, including a deep dive on one of the coolest videos by Night Demon. Lots of cool behind-the-scenes stories. This is episode number 17, Black Widow, Part 2. So, last episode, one thing we didn't talk about was the cover art for the single. I have it here in front of me. It's pretty cool looking. It has a Black Widow and like a set of women's eyes looking out from behind a circular web. It's pretty unique looking for a Night Demon single. And it was designed by a designer named Paul Abron at Bronca Studios. So this is another example of Night Demon finding an awesome artist that I'd never heard of and coming up with a really cool album cover. If you check Bronca Studio on Instagram, you can see all kinds of cool designs he's done for like albums, books, posters, all kinds of stuff. He has a merch store online. There's some cool stuff in there. One of the things he has is a black t-shirt. It has white letters on it, and it just says, "You can only trust yourself and the first 6 Black Sabbath albums," which I thought was a pretty cool idea for a t-shirt. I might actually pick that up. So check out Bronca Studio online. Here's Armand.
Okay, yeah, this is a Spanish artist that did this, did the cover art. Again, I think, I don't know if we gave him any notes on it. I think we just gave him the song and said, hey, we need a cover for this. And again, man, it's just the lyrics just, lend themselves to, are very visual. You listen to the lyrics, you read the lyrics, and you can just picture the story. So the artwork just fits perfectly, You get the eyes behind the Black Widow, and it's just another fucking home run, man. And again, keeping with the theme, kind of the classic horror theme. It's like not too modern looking. It's got that kind of like, roughed up look a little bit, which we're fans of,
Jarvis taps on his buddy from Barcelona, Paul Abron.
As far as the artwork goes for the single, I tapped on an old friend of mine, Paul Abron from Bronca Studio in Barcelona, Spain. And Paul's been in the scene for a while, and more kind of along the lines of the stoner doom kind of vibe. That's kind of his artistic style and the stuff that he does. But I'm always trying to cross subgenres and expand the boundaries of what we do. So I thought that would be really cool if he did the art. So I just gave him the song and gave him the concept, and he came back with that.
Hello, everybody. I'm Paul from Bronca Studio, Barcelona. I was very happy when I was asked to do the Black Widow design because I've been a Night Demon fan since the first time I heard them. They are one of those bands that can take the torch of the big ones. And about the design, I am very happy on how it came up because it has kind of a comic vibe on it that I really love. And it has a funny story about it because as I work in collage, sometimes I have to be very careful to not repeat using the same images. And this time when I started the Black Widow design, I started with a rejected. It wasn't a rejected design. It was a design for a band that had the songs record, but the dude who recorded that songs was focused in another band, and he wasn't sure to release that songs. So we have the album cover there, and it was only the eyes. And when I got the commission from Night Demon, I started doing the design with that cover, and it ended being the Black Widow design.
Little did I know that our good friend Trevor Church from the band Haunt, their first EP was called Luminous Eyes, and Paul had done the cover art for that. What I didn't know at the time was that I think the art was rejected by Trevor at first, and then when I approached Paul, he said, "Okay, I'm going to do this." I didn't know at the time, but basically, the Luminous Eyes cover has two eyes on it. It doesn't look anything like the Black Widow cover, but the resemblance there are the two eyes kind of staring at you. So he did our artwork with the Black Widow spider in the web and then her two eyes peeking out from it, which I thought is really cool. It looks amazing. It's still one of our most popular t-shirt designs.
And we were very happy. And maybe I don't know how many times after, the other band decided to release the record that was waiting there. And I had to redo the other cover because, it wasn't exactly the same eyes. So I have to change it.
And then the Luminous Eyes EP came out later. I guess Trevor had gone back to him and they kind of worked something out. I still really don't see the resemblance besides the eyes, and the eyes really aren't the same at all. I know that was an issue with Paul, but Trevor didn't give a shit, and neither do I, and he and I are great friends. I mean, I'm great friends with all these guys, so it's so awesome to be able to work together, and it's cool to have a story like that where two like-minded bands work with the same artists and kind of have a similar thing happening here.
So a little bit of an interesting story behind the development of that album cover. But it turns out pretty awesome. And you can tell it's a hit with Night Demon fans when people are getting it tattooed on their body. Here's Dusty.
I think the single cover is really cool with the way that the eyes are and the Black Widow design. I actually have a cool picture of a tattoo that somebody got that's a mix of the Black Widow album art and the sigil because they're both circles. She has it tattooed on her arm, and it's like super, you can see both images, and it's really cool how they married the two. So I think the fact that somebody ended up getting it tattooed on them, and, we have the shirts and the vinyl, and it's just something that stands out just like all of our artwork. It makes sense when you look at the artwork and you hear the song.
Another thing that we haven't addressed yet is the video for this song. So the video for Black Widow is really cool. I recommend you go check it out on YouTube. If you have never seen it before, or if you have seen it but you haven't seen it in a while, go give it another watch because it's pretty amazing. And the video is kind of like an extension of the song lyrics, which, if you remember from part 1 of the Black Widow episodes, all trace back to Armand.
The video concept, again, it comes from my fucking psychedelic mushroom trip, camping. I mean, that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to say about that. That's where the concept came from.
The video is put together really well, and it has a really cool arc to it. Here's Armand with a walkthrough of the outline of the video.
Here's the original outline. Exterior shot of a house, slowly pushing in. You show a girl getting ready to go out. She walks into a bar, staring at other men. Picks her man, flirting with him and dragging her nails on a guy's neck. Black nails. One of the nails has an hourglass on it, like a black widow. Takes the guy home. He sits on the bed waiting for her while she's in the bathroom, applying poison to her nails. Some kind of sexy scene. The reveal of an hourglass tattoo on her back. Again, the black widow thing. Scene turns violent as she digs her nails into his back. The wounds swell up like a spider bite. He falls off the bed and foams at the mouth dead. She shrink wraps him up, drags him out of the house, dumps the body. This is before we had the idea of, hanging the bodies. She goes back home, falls into bed, passes out, wakes up the next day. It's 6 p.m., gets ready to go out again, look for another victim. Now she's at a live concert. She picks her guy, takes her back home. The guy gets forceful with her. He's being a real creep or he's drunk or something. She tries to fight the guy off. She panics and grabs a curious-looking knife from her thigh. Close-up shows an hourglass on the knife, another obsessive thing about Black Widows. She jumps at him and stabs him right in the chest as they both fall to the floor. He foams at the mouth. Again, she wraps him up in shrink wrap, drags him out, dumps the body. Back home, falls into bed. Eyes spring open again at 6 p.m. Montage. Sees guys walks in the house. She drags out shrink wrap body. This repeats 3 or 6 times, which actually is in the real video. Then here's the final part of the video. She's at the location 3. Sees a nice guy, meets him. He is very hesitant to go home with her, but she wins. He goes back to her place. He notices the Black Widow stuff all around her room and asks her about it. They kind of chat about it, but he looks concerned. They go into her bedroom. She is trying to kiss him and remove his clothes, but he is unsure. She eventually gets frustrated with him, and she tries even harder. He gets up to leave, and she locks the door. She jumps on him and tries to get her knife from her hip. He reaches over to grab a jar with live Black Widows in it and smashes it into her head. She hits the ground unconscious, bleeding out. He panics and leaves. He walks to his truck. He opens the door to his truck. When the door closes, it reveals that he was an exterminator. Truck drives away, cuts back to dead girl on the floor and a lone Black Widow next to her face. So there's a few things in there that we weren't able to do. A is do any of the stuff with fucking Black Widows, with real spiders or even CG spiders. It was talked about, but I don't think it ever, we might have tried that kind of stuff, but it never really looked, as good as we would want it to look. And obviously using real Black Widows was a little sketchy, even though we actually had some in jars in the video on in the location, in the bedroom and stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and preface this as this video being my least proud moment ever in this band. And this is no disrespect to the cast and crew or my other 2 bandmates. It all comes down to me. I really dropped the fucking ball on this. There was a lot going on in my personal life and way too much going on in my professional life. And I did not pay enough attention to detail on this. And as many know, everything that happens with Night Demon, I spend probably 4 times as much time on it than anybody else. And I don't know if that's me trying to be a perfectionist, because I'm never going to be, but I just put a lot of attention and care into what we do Not that I work harder than anybody, but I just obsess over things. And with this video, I had the initial concept, I had the idea, and once things got rolling, I just fucking disappeared on it, basically. And it's pretty embarrassing, and I'm really ashamed of that in the end. But it was a good learning lesson, and I've never done anything like that since with this band, and I don't plan on repeating this again. With that said, I think that the video came out pretty good. So what happened with this thing? So Armand and I met up with our friend Mike Miller, who had produced and directed a lot of music videos from different friends of ours that we thought looked pretty good.
Hi, my name is Mike Miller, and I was the producer for Night Demon's video Black Widow. I think Jarvis and Armand had approached me initially to direct the video and brought me on board early in the conceptual kind of stages of the video. And we just kind of sat down and tossed around some ideas. I do remember they had some initial ideas of, this Black Widow chick going around, kind of killing people.
What is up, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners? This is your resident motor mouth, Jarvis Leatherby, telling you about something very, very special here. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology, Volume 3. This is a book, guys. That's right. We all know Decibel Magazine as the #1 metal magazine in North America for many years running. But you know what? They also have a fucking killer book series, okay? I want to tell you about this. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology, Volume 3. This limited edition hardcover includes 25 Hall of Fame stories from Decibel's revered monthly series of artist interviews on the making of their classic extreme music albums. Featured in this book are stories behind classic albums such as Stained Class by Judas Priest, Apocalyptic Raids from our good buddy Tom Warrior's Hellhammer, Pleasure to Kill from Teutonic German terror creator, Court in the Act from the legendary new wave of British heavy metal gods, Satan, and of course, Abigail from the legendary King Diamond. And last but not least, Night Demon's personal favorite, Heartwork from the only other band from Liverpool, Carcass. So guys, please head on over right now to store.decibelmagazine.com and grab a copy to read the definite stories of heavy metal's definitive albums. Put in the promo code Night Demon upon checkout to receive 10% off. That's Night Demon, one word, all capital letters. Get your 10%, store.decibelmagazine.com. While you're there, guys, go ahead and grab a subscription of the Mag 2. They've got a great vinyl flexi series. Do yourselves a favor here. Get on the level. Store.decibelmagazine.com. Promo code Night Demon. See ya.
We talked with a band, and we all kind of talked about Dario Argento and Mario Bava and his 60s and 70s and 80s Italian horror movies that were just beautifully and just lusciously filmed, and just these beautiful larger than life colors, and blood just looks unrealistic, but it's just cool. Everything is just kind of super vivid, super high key. I've always wanted to do something stylistically like Bava, like Inferno or Black Sabbath, and especially Argento, Suspiria, and like Deep Red, and just the look of them, the colors, the saturation was just beautiful. And just actually in college had a couple classes with Dario Argento. He was a guest lecturer at the school I was going to, and I remember this one thing that he said that's always stuck with me. He said in this thick Italian accent. As long as I have a beautiful image and a beautiful woman in front of my camera, I could give a shit less about a plot, which I've always loved. It's always stuck with me. I spent like 4 years in film school, learning cameras and learning this, learning that about lighting and everything. And here, this little Italian guy is telling me to forget all of that and just get a beautiful woman, and that's all you need. And I think that we started that initially with the band just to, give it this cool kind of Argento Mario Bava look to it. And I think we really nailed it.
So we got together, concepted it, and that's when he called Braden Freeland, because he's like, look, if we're going to do this kind of horror throwback, we need to get somebody in here who can really make this thing pop and who is very familiar with genre filmmaking. And so Braden was his choice, and it was a great choice.
My name is Braden Freeland, and I'm a director and cinematographer. I don't remember exactly how I got asked to do this music video, but I remember getting the vision for it after hearing the song and really wanted to go really crazy with the idea and the concept. But of course we had to scale back because of budget and timeline and all those types of things. But once we were able to put together a concept for the music video, I kind of really started to fall in love with the idea. And especially once we found Jessica to be our Black Widow, that was really helpful to put a face in my head to be able to imagine how this is all going to look.
I think Braden, the director, really did a good job of getting that feel of.
I didn't really have a particular idea or inspiration of how this was exactly going to look, but accidentally kind of gave it sort of a Dario Argento Suspiria look that wasn't intentional until it was pointed out later. Kind of excited that we accidentally ended up looking that way, but it actually led me down to watching more Dario Argento films and really fell in love with them. Didn't realize that I had parallel thought with somebody from the 1970s. I challenged myself to shoot a lot of this just with one lens. Most of it was shot with a 24 millimeter. I like using wide angle lenses because it makes you really try a lot harder to kind of put together your scene better, really control your lighting, and it really challenges you a lot in many ways. Of course, I did cheat and use probably 50s and 85s throughout the way, but most of it was done with just a 24 millimeter.
One thing that I think was a cool decision that they made when making this video is the title card. So when the video starts, you see a red Night Demon logo on a black background, and it says Night Demon Presents. And then there's a cool title card, sort of a stylized logo of the words Black Widow. It looks kind of like it's done in blood with brush strokes, and it's like covered in webs with a spider hanging off of the last letter. And it just gives a really cool effect. It sets up the video and kind of puts you in the mindset that you're like about to watch maybe a classic horror movie.
The title card, the Black Widow font. So Brian Crabaugh, our resident artist, which we've talked about many times on this podcast, I just hit him up, and this was kind of a last minute thing too. This was in the final editing stages. And I just said, instead of throwing some just regular ass font over it, we need a custom hand-drawn Black Widow logo. So although we didn't have this on the cover of the 7-inch, it really didn't matter to me. This was kind of like a mini movie, and it needed its own title card. So Brian did a great job. He drew that up for me in one night and sent it over. It's really cool. And actually, I still have the hand-drawn art. He mailed it over to us. So that's really cool to have that. It's like, aside from the Night Demon logo, Black Widow has its own logo. Kind of wish the Marvel film used it. Actually, we submitted to Marvel to use this track in the upcoming Black Widow film with Scarlett Johansson, but no word back from them. So, hey, whatever. The Night Demon fans love it, and that's what matters, right?
There's actually photos and a video of this title card and the original art used for it in the subscriber section on nightdemon.net. So after the title card, it then cuts to a scene of a radio DJ. And this is a really cool touch. He announces the track in his DJ voice. You see a close-up of the Black Widow single as a 7-inch vinyl. You see the needle drop onto the record, you hear the crackle, and then the song starts. It's a really cool setup.
Welcome to the night, headbangers and hellions. Night Demon kicks us off with a cautionary tale. Beware the Black Widow.
In the video, so the DJ at the beginning is my old friend Carl Grant. I've been friends with Carl since we were 9 years old.
Carl Grant, also a.k.a. Carlism, who's a local rapper here in the Ventura area, Ventura Oxnard area. Him and Jarvis have been buds for a super long time. Myself and Dustin became good friends with him when we used to all frequent this bar downtown Ventura. We used to all play there together in our old bands, and he would always do, his rap sets. And he would also, once in a while, he'd get up with us and do Walk This Way by Run DMC Aerosmith. That was always a fun thing.
We grew up in the Christian school system together and went through all that stuff. I had an idea to have this thing as kind of start off like a radio station thing. And so we went to the captain's quarters to Arbon's studio and had Carl come. And
he's our DJ in the beginning, and we had him come in because he is a good friend of ours and he's got a, good deep voice. And I think it was just our idea of putting him in the front just because he's got like a classic kind of look to him and, trying to make that intro look a little bit more throwbacky and giving it a nice vibe to set it up to tell the story.
Anyway, we pitched his voice down so he sounds a little more sinister than he actually is.
Welcome to the night, headbangers and hellions. Night Demon kicks us off with a cautionary tale. Beware the Black Widow.
I wrote the intro, I wrote the speech for the DJ, and I actually recorded it and had given it to everybody kind of with my voice, my radio voice or whatever it was.
Welcome to the night, headbangers and hellions. Heavy metal is back on the air on this full moon evening. Night Demon kicks us off with a cautionary tale for all you freaks going out looking for a good time. Beware of Black Widow.
But obviously, this is another thing that we didn't want to be in the video. And we've tried to do this before. We tried to do this with Welcome to the Night, and then the band ends up being in it performing. So one thing that I am proud of this video is that there is no member of Night Demon in this video, and that's what we really, really wanted to do.
What's up, everybody? My name is Carl. I played the radio DJ in the Black Widow music video. Now, there's a funny story behind that. So I get there, and Jarvis gives me the script of what to say. So Armand's there, and then the director's there too. So I go in the room, and I'm just reading the lines, trying to get them down. And everybody else goes into the other room. They're doing whatever they're doing over there. So I'm probably in there for about 10, 15 minutes. And then I'm like, okay, I got the lines. So everybody comes back in, and then we start filming. So we do the first take. And of course, it's what's up, headbangers and hellions. Night Demon is back with another cautionary tale. So we do the first take, and obviously the first take, so we're not going to keep that one. So we do it a couple more times. And then Jarvis is kind of looking at me, and then he's like, hey, you're saying Night Demon wrong. And I'm saying, well, how am I saying it? He's all, well, you're saying Night Demon. It's Night Demon. And I had already been practicing this for about, 10, 15 minutes, so it's pretty much locked in. So we're probably doing, 20, 30 takes, and I'm still saying it wrong. And then when I'm saying it right, I can't even hear that I'm saying it right or wrong, and everybody's busting up.
For some reason, he couldn't fucking say Night Demon. He kept saying Night Demon, Night Demon. For some reason, he just kept he would go up, and his voice would go up in pitch when he would say demon. Every time, and we would fucking crack up about that shit. It would happen every time. Night Demon, Night Demon. We're like, dude, Night Demon. So took him I don't know how many takes before we got that shit right.
So finally, like, I have to get coached. They're like, okay, raise your voice up when you say night and drop it when you say demon. So I started doing it and finally got it. But even when I got it, I didn't know that I got it. So I can say night demon perfectly now. But I know some of you out there say night demon. But yeah, that was the take from there. Also, too, when they told me what to wear, like he texted me. He's like, okay, just bring your suit jacket, bring your Thriller outfit. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I had no idea what the shoot was going to be, so pack it up in the backpack. I get there, I bust out the Thriller outfit, and they're like, what did you bring that for? I'm like, Jarvis told me to. And he's like, no, I was just fucking with you. But it was a fun shoot. But remember, it's Night Demon, not Night Demon.
So Carl came in and did this thing. And I just love the visuals on it. He's talking into the old RE20 mic, and he's over the Ram's mixing board. We really did make it look like a radio station. We really didn't have to do much because that's how Armand's studio looks. But we wanted to make it kind of old school like that. And then it cuts to the image of, putting the vinyl to the needle. And that was really cool. That's one other thing is that we had the vinyl already. This was out. The video came so much later. It was such an afterthought. But I mean, it all worked out well. And when you think about it now, looking back, it's a great piece of art. In the moment, you're kind of like, okay, this song's been out on our album for months. Now we're putting it out on a vinyl. Why? And then 6 months later or whatever, now we're making a video for it. Why? But in the end, you look at time in a much different way. It's not as linear when you're flashing back or you're looking back at something, or if you're seeing the video for the first time years later. All those elements really add a lot to it and make it look really pro and make it look like there's something special about this song.
So you see the scene of the DJ sending out the Night Demon song over the airwaves, over the radio waves, and then cut to a picture of an old-timey radio in this gothic-looking bathroom where the Black Widow is taking a bath. And it's a cool segue to go from radio station to a radio, pan out from the radio to this scene. Here again is director Braden Freeland.
The old school radio, actually, we happened to find on site and got really lucky with that because I kind of had this vision of an old radio playing the song, and we cut away to there in the tub, and we just got lucky that radio was on site.
So that was just the first of many lucky occurrences that happened with the locations shooting this video.
Okay, the house itself, let's talk about this. So the house itself is owned by the man who owns the Ventura Theater. It's a fucking amazing house that was built in the early 1900s. It's like a famous, it's like I'm pretty sure it's a historical house. It was one of the first houses. It's up in Ojai, California. I think it's one of the first houses built up there in the early 1900s. Fucking perfect location. Loanne, the lady who lives there, she is one of the main people that runs the Ventura Theater. And she is a fan of everything dark and kind of like gothic and stuff like that. So the decor was already there. I mean, we didn't have to do much to treat it to make it look like, this psychopath fucking goth chick, Black Widow chick lived there. It was already kind of like that already, So she was really nice to let us shoot there and do all the location stuff there. The bathroom, that's her bathroom. I mean, fucking what an amazing, amazing place,
So I looked up the house on the internet, and it was actually built in 1908. And this is the description. A rare piece of old California, built in 1908 for the Ayers family, this beautifully maintained and upgraded grand Victorian home shows the substance of the era. So Armand's right. It's from the early 1900s, 1908. And again, this house really just knocks it out of the park as a location for this video. Again, here's director Braden Freeland.
I got pretty excited once we saw the house we were going to use. It was a very spooky house. It worked really well for what we needed. The bedroom was pretty much perfect. We were able to use multiple parts of the house for different scenes, including the exterior and the Black Widow's chamber, I guess we'd call it, where she was keeping all of her victims hung up in the shack.
The house that the video is made in, the house that the girl lives in, that was our friend Loanne's house. She's got a really cool house up in Ojai, California. And it just had a great look, and we were able to do majority of the scenes of the house stuff. All the house stuff is at her house.
Poor Loanne. The house that we borrowed to use for the location of her home, there were candles all over in that bathroom. And unfortunately, a lot of that wax kind of went everywhere. So guys had to sit there and scrape and clean up all that stuff off the floor. And we were able to get all of it out of there, luckily. Really didn't want to leave the place in any worse than when we got there.
So yeah, the bathroom, the bedroom, the kill room, and the exterior were all a part of Loanne's house. And then the bar scenes were 2 other locations that we know the owners, and we were able to get permission to shoot at those places.
The locations aside from this house, like the bars where the Black Widow picks up her victims, those were filmed in and around some of Night Demon's favorite watering holes in Ventura. So one location is the Sewer, which is a bar. It's actually called the Sans Souci Cocktail Lounge. That's French for carefree, but I like the nickname Sewer better. It's actually the bar that's immortalized in the New Liberty song, The Sewer. Another location is the Bombay Bar and Grill, which is a bar that's played a big part in Night Demon's history. Night Demon actually played its first gig there on May 27th, 2011. And some of these bars are used as exterior locations where you see the Black Widow walking into bars and clubs.
The one bar that she walks into, Sans Souci, which is like the ultimate Ventura dive bar. It's kind of like our little rainbow room of Hollywood, you know. Anybody that's been to Ventura for Frost and Fire and stuff like that knows that bar. It's the one rock and roll bar in town. We've all frequented many, many, many nights and done all kinds of unspeakable things there, but all in good fun.
And a lot of the interior shots of bars and clubs are filmed at the Ventura Theater Bar.
I really like how we made the bar at the Ventura Theater look kind of, I don't know, it doesn't even seem like that's a Ventura Theater to me. I'm really happy with the way that looked in this up angle with that 24 millimeter lens, and really working on getting that whole line of everybody at the bar and the lights and all the purple and everything. It just really has this really cool look to it. I really like that.
So this character of the Black Widow goes on a killing spree, bringing men back to her house and killing them, collecting them in her shed.
So yeah, the basic story is that, like, you know, it's a psychopath fucking chick, man, that, like, there's a bit of, like, she's basically a serial killer. You know, what she does is she seduces men, brings them back to her little lair, her home, and uses them for what her needs, and ends up killing them. And then she wraps the bodies up in this kind of plastic, like a saran wrap thing, and then hangs them in this shed as like little trophies. You know, just much like a spider would do, you know? Like, she's very into, you know, she's like obsessed with Black Widows, obviously. Like, she has a tattoo of a Black Widow. Everything she has the little Black Widow thing on it, you know? So that's kind of like she wraps her victims up in a cocoon kind of thing, you know, and just saves them for later. I don't know, because my original idea was like, oh, well, like, you know, she devours them after she kills them like a real spider does. Well, I think that was a little, you know, a little too, like, imaginative, I guess. I guess we kept it a little more, like, realistic, like more of like a serial killer thing where she just keeps the bodies as trophies, basically. We don't know if she eats them or not. That was not fleshed out in the story, but it could be. It could be what she does. We don't know. Nobody knows.
So in order to really pull off the video, they needed the perfect woman to play the Black Widow. And one watch of the video, and you can see that the character of the Black Widow is perfectly cast and has the perfect look.
Hey guys, Jarvis jumping in here. I want to tell you about Shadow Kingdom Records. Shadow Kingdom was the first domestic label to release Night Demon on CD. They put out the EP in 2013, and they also released the vinyl version of Live Darkness. Listen, you guys need to get your ass to the Shadow Kingdom Records store, okay? Right now, they're offering 10% off for all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners. Just go to the website, put in the code NIGHTDEMON10. That's Night Demon 10, all capital letters, Night Demon 10. No spaces. Put that promo code in upon checkout to get 10% off. Right now, guys, they have the Bloodstar 7-inch, which has sold over 1,500 copies, and these guys cannot hold on to it. So this next pressing, you want to get that before it goes out, okay? Also, it's SKR Compilation Volume 1. Guys, this is free on Bandcamp. They're giving it away for free. So not only are you going to go to shadowkingdomrecords.com and put in the code, all capital letters, no spaces, Night Demon 10 upon checkout, you're also going to go to their Bandcamp site and get this compilation for free. You're going to hear tons of fantastic fucking heavy metal. If you love us, you're going to love this label. Check it out, shadowkingdomrecords.com. Put in the promo code NIGHTDEMON10 and receive 10% off of your entire order. Do it.
So the woman who plays the Black Widow, Jessica, she couldn't look more the part. You know how sometimes people fit roles perfectly? Well, this is one of those cases. She was actually an acquaintance of Armand's.
An acquaintance of mine. I knew her because a good friend of mine had dated her before. And in, just thinking about like somebody who had the look of this type of character who, seduces men and brings them back to her little cave and fucking kills them and keeps them for later, I don't know what made me think of her. I think I just saw something must have popped up on Facebook or something. We were Facebook friends, and I saw her, and she's got a very kind of like the style that she has in the video is very much like her normal style. She's like totally into like the goth kind of horror thing. So it was just perfect,
So Jessica has the perfect look for the role, and they cast her despite not having any acting experience, which, despite the video coming out amazing and her looking the part perfectly, it did cause a few issues.
The girl in the video, I didn't really know. I think the other guys know her better. I remember her name was Jessica. And again, I just this is me taking a step back and not being as involved as I should, but I trusted them to cast the right person for this. And, with a video that has no dialogue, we're not heavily relying on a dramatic actress or actor for this. But she looked the part, which is really what matters. I do remember when we were filming the scenes in the house, I did show up a few hours after that shoot was underway. And man, it was a fucking disaster. I mean, everybody was doing a good job trying to be as professional as they could, but this chick was just off her rocker, and something had happened. She was like, her boyfriend kept calling her, and I guess they broke up like on the phone while we're shooting the video. And she was just all over the place, and it was just ridiculous. And she ended up having to take a break for hours. And so we're rolling through the night, and it's getting late, and she's just back and forth, freaking out. And we're like, yo, what is going on? We need to do this. We're at somebody's house. It's a weeknight. It's going way later into the night. I mean, this happens on video shoots anyway. Nothing ever goes as planned, and shots and setups take a lot longer. We had Nelson Cooper there doing special effects and makeup. And, there was a lot of prep that needed to happen. There's a lot of reshoots. There's different, there's so many different cuts in the same location, but her walking up and down the stairs in the house, killing somebody in the living room, doing stuff in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the bathtub. So there's all these things that need to happen. And time is money, as they say in show business, right? And so she's just having a meltdown, but she's being very dramatic about it, and she's kind of flaunting it all over the shoot.
Basically, the actress was breaking up with her boyfriend as we were shooting the video, having manic phone calls, crying, and fighting with her boyfriend as we're trying to make this fucking video.
It's not like she goes away and we see her 2 hours later and she's dealing with her problems. She's dealing with them in front of us and being extremely dramatic about it. So I thought that was totally fucking unprofessional, and it was extremely disappointing to me. But who am I to say anything, right? I mean, I didn't hire her. I ditched my responsibilities on that. And then I'm just walking into this thing and throwing my hands in the air and getting frustrated and being like, what the fuck? And I just really didn't feel like I had a right to do that.
We're a little unprepared, and she was really green. Kind of was like, yeah, I can pull this off. I know I can. And we just had a lot of pushback, and a lot of her issues and her personal life were interfering with the shoot. And I think that's what happens when you have somebody who's not a professional and you try to put them in a professional situation. They're not always going to be able to handle the demand. So she had a hard time getting everything going, and it was a little bit of a tug of war to get that video done.
And I trusted my guys to be able to reel her in and handle it, and they did exactly that, and the thing got done. So in the end, it all worked out, right?
So despite drama when filming, the video gets made and the results are great. And yes, there might have been some tension on the set with the cast and the crew, but when you see these first initial shots of the Black Widow, getting a bath and getting dressed in slow motion in her lair, well, you can't argue with the results. These scenes look great. Then she's off to find some victims.
Really, she's taking a bath in the beginning, just getting ready to go out and kill. And she's not very selective. She just kind of goes out, and she's like, yeah, she knows she's hot and she can just get whatever she wants, and she's hungry to just kill. And, the minute the guy thinks that he's going to get lucky is the minute she murders them. The victims, I didn't really know everybody, but we were able to round up as many people as we could to get them done. And our friend Nelson did all of the special effects stuff, and he's brilliant. He's really good at what he does, and he's an old school cat when it comes to no CGI, and he wants to, have real blood and all this stuff.
Hey guys, Nelson Cooper here. I worked on Night Demon's Black Widow music video. I think it all started out when Braden Freeland called me up saying he needed some special effects and makeup done for you guys. And I was already aware of you guys. I did worked with you and did your guys' Rocky skeleton guy that's up on stage with you on your live shows. So that was pretty cool. And Braden explained the story to me. Sounded pretty dope. The Black Widow played by Jessica Vanoli, which I had to do several blood gags on her, and did a fake tattoo, did that little hourglass tattoo on her back. There were some other actors there. I did some other makeup and tattoo cover-ups. I made some spiders, kind of playing special effects, makeup, and art department all in one, which is cool. I love it. We had some breakaway props as well. The fake glass stuff that Michael Destiro smashes over Jessica's head there. I think she really enjoyed that. That was her favorite part.
So her first victim, she takes back to this house, and again, the location and the set looks perfect. Takes him to bed and just brutally tears into him with her nails.
So the first guy who gets killed here, on set, we actually had practical effects with him getting scratched, but he didn't want to shave his chest, so we were really limited on how gory we could make that. I have to give a big shout out to Jeremy Ontiveros, who's a friend of mine who's really good with visual effects. And he, out of the good graces of his heart, actually came and jumped in on the project for us and did all that VFX. So the blood when he gets scratched and when he's laying there dead, that is all post. That is all a special effect that was added with computer-generated graphics.
Nelson, the guy in charge of the makeup and the props, you know, that first scene, you know, we talked about the whole thing with her nails. Okay, she's going to rip this guy's fucking... The idea was she was going to rip this guy's chest open with her nails. So Nelson fucking made this whole prosthetic chest piece that was going to be awesome. That basically she could actually dig her nails into and rip, you know, and it was going to be just like, I don't know, it was going to look awesome. But this required the actor to, you know, shave his chest basically for him to be able to glue it onto his chest so it would stay there. Well, since this was just a friend and not anybody we were paying, because again, like I said, last minute finding fucking people to play these parts, you know, that was the other thing too. It was one thing to find the extras, but it was another thing to find, you know, guys that would actually like do these bedroom scenes. Which, it's like, come on, man. Who wouldn't want to, like, be attacked by a good-looking girl in lingerie for a video? I mean, why not? Well, it turns out a lot of people are scared to do shit like that or whatever. I don't know what it was. But anyway, he was like, man, like, that's the one thing I won't do. You know, I just won't do it. I won't do it. He wouldn't fucking do it. So, unfortunately, we just kind of, like, mocked it up on the scene and then in post, Braden did a great job in whatever he had to do and like kind of do a CGI, like kind of like chest wound. So you'll notice that. But it could have been a lot cooler though. Thanks a lot, Andrew. Still love you. But God damn it, that could have been so cool.
So after this first kill, the Black Widow just goes on this killing spree. And there's this montage of her just seducing and murdering man after man.
A lot of these guys who we got to be the victims coming in and out of the house were actually just friends that were there at the house or whatever. They'd come out and they'd do their little 5-10 minutes that it took to do the walk in and walk out. And then we would just take one of our dummy bodies wrapped up in the plastic and drag them out of the house. So a lot of guys got to get thrown into the video, which was pretty handy to have so many guys on hand.
I guess I had told Braden that we were going to find the people besides, you know, obviously we had provided the main, the main character for the video, but as far as like all the extras and stuff like that, I guess it was a misunderstood thing. I thought he was going to find them, and then basically what happened is like the week before the shoot or a few days before we like needed to do the shoot, I had to find people. So it's funny because if you look in the video and if you're from Ventura and you know our friends and our scene, everybody in the video are all our little barfly friends. Better friends than that actually. But so yeah, we basically had to use whoever could just like kind of do it last minute. So all the guys that she takes home in the video are all guys from our scene, you know. All of our friends. Obviously they're in the bar scenes and all that. So she takes home multiple guys from the different scenes. God, what kind of woman is this, you know? So that was kind of funny. It was a last minute thing. But again, good friends always come together for us at the last minute.
So she kills these men and then she stashes the bodies. But first she wraps them up in sort of like a cocoon and hangs them up in her shack. And again, the band gets lucky with her choice of location.
We got really lucky, and the shack that we used for her little domain where she was hiding all the bodies was actually at the same house. So it's all on the same location. We didn't have to go anywhere else to find that.
The scene of the wrapped up bodies hanging in the shack, all kind of mummified in cocoons, It's one of the most striking scenes in the video, and this is all Nelson Cooper again.
So the bodies that we used for that, the props, were done by another friend of ours. His name is Nelson Cooper. He's a filmmaker, prop guy. I've met him years ago. He did a video for an old band of mine that never saw the light of day. And then he started getting into building props and stuff and doing horror makeup. He ran a couple of haunted houses in town and, built all the sets and built all the props and all the crazy shit. So we thought of him right away when it was time to figure out who was going to do the practical effects.
He said he needed a bunch of bodies wrapped up in plastic. I think I did maybe 5 or 6 of those. That's what you see being dragged off by the Black Widow and hanging in the shed there.
He made these bodies, right? And they're wrapped in fucking this saran wrap and with blood on them and shit like that. And he's driving his truck up to the location where we have the house and the shoot. And he's got all these bodies in the bed of his truck. And he told us there was a couple different cars that we'd stop at a stoplight and they're looking over at him because they could see the bodies sitting in the back of his truck. What the fuck, So they looked real, man. It's crazy. Really cool thing that he did. So we ended up hanging him up in the barn, in the back of the house. And, of course, with anything that we do, shit runs late. By the time we finished the shoot, I don't know, it was 3, 4 in the morning. So we didn't want to deal with taking those down. And nobody was really using that shed for anything. So we left the bodies up there in the shed. So as a prank, Luann, the lady that lives there, had some guests over. And she told them to go in the back and try to oh, hey, can you go back in the shed? I have a tool there that I need. I can't get it or something like that. So whoever went back there, they went back there and saw the fucking bodies still hanging there and started screaming and running oh, my God, do you know that there's bodies hanging in your fucking shed in the back and all this shit? And she's just started laughing at them no, you idiot, those are from a video shoot.
So this killing montage goes on until she meets her final victim, Bud, played by Mikey DeStito.
Our buddy Mikey, who was in the Welcome to the Night video, he's in this. He makes another appearance in this.
Of course, we can't forget to mention our great friend Mikey DeStito, who is our Alicia Silverstone of the Night Demon videos. So we kind of have a thing with using this guy for our videos. He's been in the Welcome to the Night video. He's in the Black Widow video. And I'm sure he'll be in a future video whenever we get around to doing that.
So a lot of things are coming together for the video. The house and the shed are perfect locations. Jessica's a great casting choice. She has the perfect look for the Black Widow. This perfect, evil, seductive look. All that said, even better match for their character is Mikey. When he hits the screen, he steals the scenes he's in. So back on the podcast again, Mikey DeStito.
Hey guys, Mikey DeStito here again with another breakdown of my recollection of being part of the Black Widow music video with my buddies Jarvis, Armand, and Dusty, my friends. I'm one of their biggest fans, and I have the pleasure and the gift of calling them my friends. So they asked me to give some more input this time on Black Widow. I had heard the single and, again, was just blown away. I know the boys are influenced a lot by the 80s metal bands, and that's something I love too. I had heard Black Widow, and I was rocking it in the car and everywhere and, promoting it as I could. And I forgot exactly what went down, and they were starting to choose people to be part of the video. I don't think I directly asked the guys to be a part of the second video. I was praying I could be, just to be a part of anything they do. I just love. But I don't like to be the kind of person that says, I need to be in this one. I have to be. Nah, it's just not my style. Oh, God, we were hanging out somewhere. I don't know if it was downtown Ventura, the sewer, or somewhere. The guys just surprised me and told me that I get to be not only part of the video, but the nerd geek character of Bud that, ends up killing the Black Widow in the end. But again, just that surprise, what a gift. Again, to be part of the guys' creation, their music video, I was floored. So I got to dress up like a geek. I was a little heavier then too, slick my hair back, put those Buddy Holly glasses on, bowling shirt, be one of the potential victims of the Black Widow. And at the very end, who gets suspicious and then kind of knows what's going on, and then bam, right across the head.
So a fun story, when we actually killed the widow, when Bud hits her over the head with the jar, two things. One, we were supposed to actually show there were supposed to be dead Black Widows in the jar, but we really had a tough time making fake Black Widows, so we kind of scratched that idea. But a much fun fact would be when we had jars, I think we may have only had one or two. I don't remember. But we had rehearsed through how it was going to happen, who's going to hit, how Bud's going to hit the widow over the head, and it's going to break, and she's going to die, and all that. And we did some dry runs without it. And when it came time for her to die, and Bud hits her on the side of the head with the jar, our widow forgot to die. She just sat there.
He fucking smashes it in her head, and she just stays. She didn't move. She just stayed there. She was on top of him. He smashes her in the head, and she doesn't move. And everybody's yelling like, fall over, fall over. And it took her, it was like a delayed reaction. 10 seconds later, she's like, oh, and then decides to fall over.
I had to get creative, and actually the scene where she dies in the music video was actually shot in my living room, and we just shot it in slow motion, which is kind of a basic black background, and then her falling to the floor is exactly, we had put down some fake floor at the house where the blood ran out, and that flooring actually matches the flooring in my house, so her dying is half in the bedroom on location, and then her falling to the floor is actually in my living room, and the jar over her head is actually in my living room as well.
That was a part of her not really understanding how to act, and that's what happens when you work with people who aren't, professionals. But Mikey killed it, and he's just great to work with, and he's always stoked to have a great time and be a part of anything that Night Demon does.
The end of the video is really awesome, and I think it's kind of a stroke of genius. And I believe it was Mike Miller that came up with this.
I've always wanted to do a film or a music video that had kind of an exterminator in it. A couple of my favorite movies like Blue Velvet and Naked Lunch have these narratives woven through them. The exterminator movies, to end all exterminator movies, Caddyshack. So we all tossed around the idea of integrating this idea of an exterminator into the video, and they all like that idea. And we just kind of fleshed it out to where, she's, going around to clubs, hauling these people in and killing them. Kind of, typical horror movie type of stuff, Definitely kind of influenced by movies like The Hunger with, vampires going to clubs and picking people up and, doing their thing to them. So yeah, the that idea of the exterminator, we just kind of tossed it around, and then I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool, at the end, that he gets in his car, turns the radio on, and the DJ says, kind of does a call out to Night Demon. And my initial idea was to have a shot of the license plate that said Black Widow Killer or something like that, Bob's Exterminating Service or something like that. So that was kind of, I always thought my first idea was, that last shot would be kind of cool, of just, the exterminator walking out of her house after taking her out and lighting a cigarette and just, cruising off down the road. They didn't like my original idea where the Jarvis and Armand and Dusty bust into the room with flamethrowers and just torch the Black Widow, and they thought that was a little bit overboard, but I thought it was a good idea.
It's just classic. So Mikey DeStito comes in again. He's our Tawny Katane or our Alicia Silverstone, right? He's in all of our films and videos, and so he's the main guy. He's the last one to go home with the Black Widow, and right when she's about to do her thing, he grabs this jar with the Black Widow spider in it, which I think we did have real Black Widow spiders on the shoot, and the owner of the house got pretty pissed off about that because she had dogs and all that stuff. I mean, there's just I don't have great memories from making this video. I really don't. There's a lot of tension happening here. But so he smashes this over her head and kills her. And then, he's leaving the house and walking down the street to his car. And he's like, what the hell just happened? Then he gets in his car and turns on the radio. And there's Carl again giving the outro to the song. And as the camera zooms away, you see his truck. And it says, Bud's Bug Removal. So he's a fucking exterminator. Like, that is such a good plot twist. And I give it up to those guys for coming up with something like that, because I definitely did not. And it really ties the whole thing together. The exterminator gets lured in by an arachnid and does his job and kills it. So,
like I had mentioned in the talking about horror movies and stuff, you have to have comedic relief within the horror and the gore and the story, because that's what makes a great horror film, is having that comedic relief of this is still fun and it's still fiction and there's a story, and you have to be able to laugh within all of the grief and all of the gore and all that. You have to have that bit of comedy in there to make it a classic, and that's just our way of doing it and making it the Night Demon way. So
despite some tension, some issues when filming, the end result is an amazing final product. And I recommend you go, no matter how many times you've seen this video, go watch it again right now after listening to this podcast. It really is well done. So that's it for Black Widow. There's a lot in that video, and watching it now, I realize how many Easter eggs and little details are in there. I think this video, along with Welcome to the Night, really delivers. They're like mini horror movies. The song itself and the video really sums up what Night Demon are all about. So for bonus content, there's a ton of bonus content this week. We've got behind-the-scenes images from the shoot, including Jessica killing her prey, Carl in the studio recording his intro, the shed, the kill room, the interior locations, video outlines and director's notes, and a press release for Black Widow. Probably one of the coolest things is the unreleased alternate ending to the video. So the video had another potential alternate ending, and it's pretty cool. That's in the subscriber section this week. Also, the unreleased demos, pictures of the title card, the original sketch, and the cover art. In the subscriber store, there's still some copies of the out-of-print Black Widow 7-inch vinyl and the Black Widow patch, which there's very limited quantities of those left. All in the subscriber section. I do have to say, after the last few months of doing this podcast, the amount of bonus content and unreleased material on nightdemon.net, it's pretty mind-blowing. So do yourself a favor and check that out. This is Nesbitt, signing off.
Black Widow! Black Widow! Black Widow! Black Widow! Black Widow!
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Unbearable suspense that keeps you on the edge of an abyss of terror.
Take a cult film odyssey into Cinemadness with Cinematic Void. Based in Los Angeles, Cinematic Void is a film series that specializes in horror and exploitation films. Currently, we are hosting Cinematic Void Up All Night in the Cinemadness movie, a monthly virtual screening series, as well as the Cinematic Void podcast, where we dive deeper into the world of cult cinema. You can find Cinematic Void on the World Wide Web at cinematicvoid.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like what we do, you can support Cinematic Void by joining our Patreon. Until next time, see you in the void.
Black Widow!